Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Kat and I am so excited for today's video. Sorry about the change of scenery. I'm in my living room today and it's a little bit darker in here than it is in my kitchen where I filmed my last video. But the last time I filmed a video, I did it while the people in my household were asleep, and it's about that same time today and they're not asleep. So today we are going to be doing yet again another story time, paranormal story time. And this particular story time is actually not my story. It's my sister's, my sister Trini's, my best friend, just kidding. It's her story from when she was little, and I was involved in like this much of it. Like nothing, barely. But I want to tell some of her stories, and then I want to go ahead and tell you my one and only experience with her ghost. So I'm really excited, and let's get into it. So when my sister was little, she lived in a house with her parents and her grandma, and they had a ghost in their house. And the ghost that lived there was a little boy, and he slept and stayed in her bedroom. He would travel in and out here and there, but the main interactions that she said that she had with him was in her room. And they would play together. He didn't cause any sort of malicious harm, nothing of that sort. Nothing that scared my sister in any capacity. But she said that she always knew that he was not alive. She knew that he once existed, but that he wasn't currently alive. And she actually didn't mind. And like I said in my previous video, children's minds are open and more conscious to a lot of things that we as adults are not necessarily open to anymore. So she would play with him, and she found out a bit about him. She didn't know his name. She didn't know his family name or anything like that. But she did find out what his tragic end was, which I will get into at the very end. Which is really surprising, actually, because when she was telling me what happened to him and the research she did after, like when she got older, she did research on the house and the area and what happened to this little boy. I'm really shocked that this spirit was not malevolent. But she said that he was always very happy to play with her, and he was never afraid when her parents came in the room. He was fully aware of himself being dead, but not able to move on, which is sad, heartbreaking, really. So this little boy would play with her. They would play with her stuffed animals. They would play hide and seek. They would talk to each other at night when she was trying to go to sleep. They would laugh and giggle and whatnot. And I would come over every once in a while. Side note, me and my sister are biological sisters. We were adopted into different families when we were young, which will be a different story time altogether. But it was court mandated that we got to see each other once a month, which was amazing, and we grew up together in that capacity. So we're more like friends than we are sisters. That's important. So I would come over about once every 2 weeks, and I would spend the night over there, or vice versa. And my sister would always talk to this little boy. And at this point, we were about 7 and 8. She's a year older than I am. And she was still fully able to see him. I was not. At this point, I had gained the same capacity of spirit knowledge that I actually have now, where I can feel their presence and I can feel their emotions sometimes, but not all the time. This time, I knew he was there. I knew someone was there, but I didn't know who it was. So my sister, who had had this ghost friend since she was really small, since she was 3 or 4, from what she said she could remember, didn't ever show himself to me. But at the same time, I wasn't necessarily going and looking for him at this point, because I was old enough to think, hey, he's dead. That's kind of scary. Even though we now know that that stuff's sometimes scary, of course, but the ones that are not malevolent are nothing to be afraid of. So I was closed off to full communication with him. Couldn't see him, couldn't talk to him, but knew something was there. So one night, while I was spending the night at her house, we decided to play like a game. We decided to play a game that was kind of like stiff as a feather, that stiff of a feather board game. I never played it because I was always way too afraid to play that game. But it was a game that was somewhat similar in the capacity that you are completely relaxed in your conscious mind. We decided to play a game where we would meditate so hard that we were trying to achieve being able to float out of our bodies and see ourselves laying on the ground. My sister was able to do it. I was not. As we were playing that game, I became so open and calm that I was able to look over, and I remember this so vividly, looking over and seeing him. Couldn't talk to him, really couldn't make out his face, couldn't really make out his clothes, but I knew he was young, and I knew that he was there. I was never able to achieve looking down at my body like my sister had been able to, but I was so relaxed that I was able to see him. I gave him a smile, and I looked back over, and I calmly came out of that trance, and I wasn't able to see him again. I believed my sister from the beginning that he was there. I just never had solid concrete proof until that day. And I was able to describe him to the best of my abilities because he was more like an abstract painting from what I could see. She said that she could see him really clearly. He was a little boy with blonde hair, that kind of thing. But he looked more like an abstract painting to me. And I think that maybe that's just because my mind was not fully open anymore to the idea of spirits and ghosts and whatnot. So we definitely discussed what we saw afterwards. It was almost like a really, really calming feeling over each other, knowing the information that we were able to exchange with each other, and it like match and coincide, which was pretty freaking cool, to be honest with you. So that being said, I still think about him from time to time, and I know my sister does too. We hope that his spirit has gone to rest, and if it has not, that the family that lives in that house now are being kind to him. I think we'll always remember him. Thank you guys so much for coming back to my channel for another paranormal story time. I have a ton of them. I have a lifetime of experiences that I'm so excited to share with you. Some of these experiences I've never even told like my close family and friends, so I'm excited to like get it out there and talk about it and just be part of this whole community of really cool people. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you want to, and leave a comment below so I can read them. I really like reading comments. It's really fun. So I will see you in the next